I suppose I should apologize for Optiflexing on you guys in this video, because today we've got an Optiplex 3080 to look at, and this is a machine I got in a trade deal with a friend of mine because he really needed a laptop and all he had was his desktop, and I had something that was recent enough for him, so I traded it to him for this plus a few other things as well. So this thing is actually quite a fair bit newer than my old Optiplex, I believe 4090 that I had back right before the pandemic started. This has a 10th gen Core i5 in it at 10500. Nothing fancy like an unlocked one or anything, but it does have 6 cores and 12 threads, which is quite nice, and this is when Intel actually started being generous with their core counts after AMD kind of showed everybody that, hey, like, we can give you more cores than Intel at the same or better price. But I digress, I'm not going to go into Intel versus AMD right now. So quite a competent performer for a little small form factor machine. So what this machine currently does, it is hooked up fully at the moment, but what this machine currently does is it is now my media center, because as you'll recall, I built a accidental gaming PC that's actually right here, almost out of frame, and that's been my home theater PC for a while now. The problem with that is that thing consumes a lot of power. It has a GTX 1070 Ti in it, which is overkill for what I need. It has a Ryzen 7 2700, not the X, so it does get a little power savings on that front, but still overkill for what I need. So I want something a little bit easier on the power, and this machine turned out to be exactly that. So I have added a hard drive. It had the hookups for a hard drive, so I put one in here. It does also have an SSD, a 250 gig one, I believe, on the board itself. And that's for an NVMe SSD, so it is socketed and can be removed whenever I so please. But the one thing that kind of sucks about this machine, if we turn it towards the camera a little bit, is here's our PCIe slots on the bottom here. They put the X16 slot closest to the power supply because I don't know why. It's really dumb. I really feel like they should have reversed them, because now the problem is if I want to add a graphics card to this system, like a cheap low power one, like for example the Arc A380 is a really good option, and I believe ASRock is just now coming out with a low profile one that would otherwise work in this system. You can't, because most of them are double slot, so they have to be at the top, not the bottom. Really dumb. So this can only take a single slot card, and I believe there is an RX 550 that would fit in here, but for what I use this for, probably not going to be worth it, as we'll see in a moment. Pivoting around back, going handheld here, you can see we got power, Ethernet, 4 USB, 2 of which are 3.0 ports. We have HDMI, which is weird because I could swear this was double DisplayPort, or it was supposed to be double DisplayPort, but I guess not. We do have DisplayPort, which is hooked up to this adapter that takes it up to 4K 60, which we'll get into later. And somebody actually put the VGA option on this machine, which is interesting. So this was, from what I understand, this was used in business. So that doesn't surprise me too much, but yeah, VGA will never die. So when I first got this thing set up, I was told that I might have problems with 4K video playback because this thing has the UHD 630 in it for an integrated GPU. And that is a integrated GPU that they've been using for many, many years at this point, I believe since 7th gen. So they've not touched it for years, and it's, I guess, adequate if you want basic video output. I struggled with 4K for a minute on this thing, even though it says UHD, which means 4K. Turns out I was dumb and forgot that Windows 10 does not by default include some codecs that are really needed for 4K to sing on these machines, like HEVC and such. So when it was struggling, I was like, I was initially going to consign this thing to the garage, but then I realized, oh yeah, this shouldn't be struggling. This is from 2020. This should not be struggling with 4K video content. Then I realized, oh yeah, I didn't install those extensions. Let's install them now. And now it works perfectly fine with 4K. So if you're in a similar situation and you're running Windows 10 on something like this, remember to install the HEVC extensions, because otherwise you're going to have a bad time. That said, let's go ahead and get this thing patched back up, and we will fire it up. So one of the things I really enjoy about this machine over the accidental gaming PC is the boot time is ludicrous. I'm just gonna let this run real time. So I'm hitting the power button now. Hi. Now I'm not sure if this is due to Windows 10 fast boot or something, but yeah, watch this be the one time it doesn't boot relatively fast. But yeah, there we go. Dell logo, we're in. That's it. Boom. So underneath it all, we are running LTSC 2021, and that is because I don't want the core of this machine to change significantly. I used to run Windows, like regular Windows 10 on my old Media Center PC, and it would occasionally pull updates that would break something very significantly, and I didn't really like that so much. So with LTSC, I can count on the fact that it's not going to pull a big update that's probably going to break something, and it'll just work flawlessly no matter what I do. So to control this thing, I've actually got a Media Center keyboard when I'm in the contemporary Windows OS, and I use my Stadia controller with Bluetooth to control it when we're in here. Now this takes, for some reason, about 30 seconds to pair, and I'm not sure why that is. It's not just the Stadia controller, it is my Xbox controller as well, or any controller I try to pair up with this thing. The second pairing attempt usually goes all right. So now we're paired up, and you can see the cool Xbox 360 inspired theme that I'm using. So yeah, Tetrad UI, I believe is how that's pronounced, I'm not sure. But it's pretty cool, I like it. It's really reminiscent of the good old days of the Xbox 360, and it works pretty well. So the two main video services I use are Twitch and YouTube, and they both seem to work perfectly fine on here. So I do have a search for 4K 60 already set aside here, and I use the crap out of this video. It's a really good test of if the device you're using is going to be able to 4K properly. So let's run it. And as you can see, it is smooth as butter. And it is playing at 4K, as it does say right here. I'm not sure if this audio is copyrighted, so I'm just going to turn that down a fair bit. But it works. It plays back perfectly. The only time I can get frame drops is if I'm doing this through Firefox, which, I mean, to be expected because now you have browser overhead. So it does work very, very well. I can go down to Twitch. Let's see who's live. And I mean, let's pull up. Yeah, I get this, which is whatever. And thankfully, things have gotten better. Because I don't mind this for having a little more control over my experience. But it used to be that this would actually, never mind, it just did the thing that I was afraid it was going to do. The only problem I have with that whole commercial break in progress thing is it can crash Kodi. Just like that. And now we're back out to the OS. That's one of the nice things about having the Media Center keyboard, because I can just grab this and, you know, just go to Firefox. But I can just go to twitch.tv from a web browser, and we can go that way if it's going to be really particular. So yeah, that's my Media Center PC. The accidental gaming PC is going to stick around, except I'm going to downsize that into a smaller case. So I actually have plans to meet with someone at VCF. They have a smaller motherboard that I can use. I'm going to transfer everything into a smaller case that I actually got from a good friend of mine, and hopefully make that system a little bit smaller. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's probably going to go in the garage and do something out there at some point. I'm not sure what. So that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed the look at the Optiplex and how I use it for Media Center good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time.